Excellencies, panelists, ladies and gentlemen, I would like to welcome you all to this event titled A Trade for Peace Perspective on Women's Empowerment in Fragile and Conflict-Afflicted States, organized by the Trade for Peace program of the WTO Accessions Division in celebration of Women's History Month. On the last day of this very special month, I hope that this panel can provide an opportunity to discuss the empowerment of women traders and entrepreneurs, particularly the brave ones operating in fragile and conflict-afflicted contexts. These women continue to make a living despite the circumstances that they live in, and they continue to contribute to their economies. It's also my hope that the panel can discuss ways forward in enhancing the role of women entrepreneurs. I'll stop at this moment to briefly introduce myself. My name is Nicole Mensah. I work as the Special Assistant and Advisor on Trade and Gender to the Director General of the WTO. So this is a topic that is very, very important to me. This month, the WTO has hosted a series of activities promoting gender equality and advancing the goal of women's economic empowerment. On International Women's Day, we had an amazing event with two inspiring global leaders, Madame Christine Lagarde, the President of the European Central Bank, and Dr. Ngozi Okonjo-Iweala, Director General of the WTO. During this talk, both the Director General and Madame Lagarde mentioned that gender disparities still persist in several spheres of society. There have been improvements over the years, but the challenges are still innumerous. We see that for women in fragile and conflict-afflicted states, the situation is even worse, making it difficult for them to participate in business, trade, and economic policy making. Today, we have an opportunity to hear directly from them. To kick off today's panel, we are privileged to have two highly experienced policymakers from the international trade community, Ambassador Zhang, our very own Deputy Director General at the WTO, and Ms. Dorothy Tembo, the Deputy Executive Director of the International Trade Center, ITC. They will deliver opening remarks. After that, we will move to our panel discussion with three inspiring women entrepreneurs living and striving in challenging, fragile and conflict-afflicted states. Ms. Hanan Warsame from Somalia, Ms. Rose Ashindel from South Sudan, and Ms. Sadaf Tahib from Afghanistan. They will share with us the reality on the ground, the challenges that they face in their daily lives, the opportunities that they've experienced, and also the benefits that they see from participating in trade. I should also add that these three countries are associated with WTO accession. So Afghanistan has already acceded to the WTO, and both Somalia and South Sudan are in the process of accessions. The Trade for Peace program was born out of the vision of these fragile states, and fragile and conflict-afflicted LDCs to use WTO membership in promoting peace and stability as part of their reconstruction or nation building. Following their remarks, I will open the floor for questions, both in the building and online as well. With this, it's my pleasure to introduce our DDG, Deputy Director General, DDG Zhang, for his opening remarks.
Thank you, Nicole. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. I'm delighted to join you here today to talk about women's economic empowerment. International Women's Day has passed, but we can still celebrate women throughout March, which is International Women's History Month. I want to thank the Accession Division for their effort to support the participation of fragile and conflict-affected states in the WTO through the Trade for Peace program, and this time focusing on women's empowerment, especially for women entrepreneurs and business. I trust that bringing their voice and perspectives into the conversations on trade and peace is crucial, not only to raise awareness on the challenges they face when it comes to gender equality, but also to find solutions to achieve sustainable peace through trade in conflict-affected states. Although women nowadays play a greater role in politics, economics, and development, gender disparities still remain. Women represent half of the world's population, but they only contribute to 73% 37% of the global GDP. That's not enough. We can do much better than that, because all humanity, men and women, young and old, would benefit from the economic empowerment of women. There is no doubt that trade can contribute to women's economic empowerment through the creation of job opportunities and a higher wage for them. Trade brings more resources to the household, which in turn has a positive effect on increasing the standards of living, even for future generations. Today's discussion is very timely, as we will explore ways in which women can participate in trade, especially those traders or entrepreneurs from fragile and conflict-affected states, like the ladies we have here today. For instance, that kind of policies are needed to support the business opportunity for women, given the very challenging circumstance in fragile and conflicted state. What more can the international community to do? Support women entrepreneurs and the business in these countries. I'm very excited to hear personal stories from women entrepreneurs from Afghanistan, Somalia, and South Sudan in this panel. I look forward to understanding the challenges they face in running their business, and also learning about the innovative solutions they have found. The Director General of WTO, Dr. Ngozi Okonjo-Iweala, always says that WTO is about the people, about making people's lives better. And this has to include women, including those in fragile and conflict-affected states. I believe that starting conversation is essential, but it's not enough. It must translate into action. I hope that the Trade for Peace program can offer a platform to discuss and share ideas for concrete actions which can make an impact in fragile and conflict states through women economic empowerment. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Didi Zhang. I think, as you said, the gender disparity still exists. Some research that I've done actually shows that when women trade, they earn 2.8 times the amount of women who do not trade. So really the effect is huge, and we have to find a way to get women to be able to access more global value chains. This is something that we're working on at the WTO, as Didi Zhang has said. I will now turn to Ms. Tembo, the Deputy Executive Director of the ITC. Ms. Tembo, you have the floor.
Thank you very much, Nicole, and a very good afternoon to you all. Deputy Director General Zhang, distinguished delegates, ladies and gentlemen. It is a real pleasure for me to be joining you today for this discussion on women economic empowerment in fragile and conflict-affected states. I wanted to begin by thanking the WTO and the partners for the Trade and Peace Program for taking the leadership on this important initiative, and indeed for hosting us. I cannot but emphasize the criticalness and the timeliness of the discussion we are having this afternoon. Our starting point is that equality is a human right. But we are all aware of the gender divide and its impact on women and the global economy. I think a lot of what DDG Zhang said, which I subscribe to, illustrates this particular point. It is very important, therefore, that we take into account and recognize that women in general, and more so in fragile and conflict countries, continue to be disproportionately carry the impact of the results of this gender divide. In 2022, OECD had shared with us through their studies that an estimated 23% of the world's population lives in fragile contexts, which underscores the need for us to focus on how we can better support women in these countries. So having this conversation this afternoon and listening to the various inputs coming from different sides, particularly from those that are sharing their practical experiences from the countries that are in this category, is really one that I find to be very useful. I wanted, though, to ensure that I give a balanced picture. I know that in the recent time, some efforts and improvements have been made, which have seen some successes. But the bottom line is that we remain far from creating opportunities that fully integrate women in societies, in communities, and indeed in economies. We are also still living through a challenging global context as countries deal with the effects of COVID-19, conflicts, climate change, and cost of living increase. While it has been a difficult time for all, the impact has not been equal. Less developed countries, as well as fragile and conflict-affected states, feel the impact at a deeper level, and the effects are longer lasting. The crisis-related hardships only exacerbate already existing disadvantages for women in these countries that end up bearing the brunt of the impact, as they are oftentimes not only caregivers, increasingly so breadwinners, who receive less pay for the same work. Women's economic empowerment, therefore, could have a beneficial impact on peace and prosperity. And this is where trade comes in. Trade as a tool to empower women. But it is also the reality, as we have heard many, many times, that women continue to face numerous challenges in being active participants in trade and subsequently their economies. Removing these barriers to enable women to fully engage in global trade would make a difference not only for the women, but for the families, for the communities, and the nations that they would support. This, in turn, in our view, would be an aspect that could present the potential to further strengthen the roots of our economies, foster peace, bring stability, and make countries more resilient to future crises. In short, advancing gender equality through trade will contribute towards sustainability of peace, which lays the groundwork to advance gender equality and entrenching it even more, creating a virtuous circle. Fragility, on the other hand, exacerbates the inequalities, as I have said before. 9 of 10 countries with the deepest gender gap are fragile. Our own research here at the International Trade Center shows that 75% of the countries classified as fragile or conflict affected face challenges in achieving SDG 5 on gender equality. And this is in contrast with the 23% of the non-fragile states. Stepping outside trade, a recent study that found sexist family laws and equal property rights, early marriages for women, for girls, and violence against women are also, or can also be, highly correlated with violent instability. So any action that we're going to take to tackle gender imbalances has to be one that takes into account that this is really a complex issue with socioeconomic, political, and cultural factors to account for. As an example, efforts to increase women's control over finances can unintentionally expose women to domestic violence. It is also not unusual for women to be pushed into business to provide for their families in times of conflicts in particular. Creating and running a business in this context is therefore not always a choice, but a necessity. As a result, women may find themselves struggling without prior training or experience, or indeed, even where they have the experience, that the continued existence of other barriers hinders their progression. These challenges all prevent women from achieving their full potential and countries from achieving peace and stability. At ITC, we are aware of this, and we are committed to working with countries to foster peace and prosperity by closing the gender gap and leveling the economic playing field for women. Through our different programs, we have been providing support to countries that are in conflict or that have just come out of conflict, and addressing this from a perspective of a gender lens, looking at critical elements that have to be addressed, such as those relating to finance, those relating to other trade facilitation aspects that need to be addressed through the She Trades program that we have. But overall, we also have been very much advancing our work in an inclusive, or with the approach of more inclusion being mainstreamed in the projects or programs that we are implementing, and indeed doing this in a sustainable way. We strive to implement interventions that are both conflict and gender sensitive by actively including women's voices and perspectives when designing and implementing economic development initiatives. This allows us to better understand the overall context and ongoing power dynamics, which are often gendered. I wanted to end by giving you a concrete example of some of the work we're doing in Iraq. There, we conducted gender-sensitive consultations with women in the agriculture sector to understand their particular needs. Being a woman farmer in Iraq means having limited opportunities to interact with buyers in the market. Many of these women, in fact, rely on male relatives and neighbors to sell their products. While we must be sensitive to the cultural norms, it is just as important to present women with progressive opportunities to expand their participation in markets. In Iraq, we are providing them with the knowledge and tools needed to shape their own businesses and their own futures. Because ITC believes we can and we must do more, we will this year be dedicating our annual flagship report to better understanding the impact of fragility on small businesses, including those led by women. Our small and medium enterprises competitiveness outlook will be launched in the fall. It will be grounded in innovative, in-depth analysis and inspired by stories of entrepreneurs such as Hanan, Rose, and Sadif, who are here to share their experiences. And I wanted to join others in appreciating their presence here. These are the voices we need to hear. And I very much look forward to hearing what they have in store for us. In closing, I would like to underline the fact that advocating for women's economic empowerment in fragile and conflict-affected settings is not only the right thing to do, as this is a human rights issue, but key to also sustaining peace and prosperity. I wanted to end by sharing a quote from former ILO Director General Guy Ryder, who said, and I quote, "Humanity can only be at its best when gender equality becomes a reality for all. And we can make this happen." On behalf of ITC, thank you very much. And I look forward to listening to the fruitful discussions of today.
Thank you so much, Ms. Tembo. We greatly appreciate it. I agree so much with you on the fact that women's economic empowerment could have a beneficial impact on peace, And we've seen, I just wanted to thank you for the fantastic work that ITC is doing. I myself have been working with the She Trades team on helping women access global value chains and trade more. And so we're looking forward to reading your flagship report later on this year. And thank you for the work that you continue to do on women and empowering women. Let me now turn to the panelists. First, I would like to invite Ms. Hanan Warsame, who is the CEO of Star Empire Group. Hanan, can you tell us a little bit more about you, about what inspired you to start your business, some of the challenges that you faced as a young woman doing business in Somalia, a country that has suffered conflict for a number of years? Thank you. The floor goes to you, Hanan.
Thank you very much. Good afternoon, everyone. I'm Hanan Warsame, and I'm humbled to speak at today's Women's Empowerment panel. My journey to Somalia began amidst the chaos of COVID-19. As life stood at a standstill in the Western world, opportunities began to emerge in Somalia. What encouraged me to do business in Somalia was my confidence that I could make a difference in my home country. I was fortunate to have received exposure and education from the Western world, as well as being able to travel, which have cultivated my mindset, made me more curious and open to challenges. Star Empire Group was funded, however, by my mother, even though I'm running it. And what inspired my mother to come back to Somalia started with a great opportunity. She was offered to cater food for an airline in Somalia. As an experienced cook with great management skills, she was the right fit for their job. As she discovered more opportunities, she opened 2 one-stop shops in Halan and Mogadishu Airport. This includes a restaurant, supermarket, catering services, meeting room, and salon facilities. I joined my mother in Somalia, and now we are navigating the complex entrepreneurship in Somalia together. With my mother's passion for cooking and my passion for innovation and change, we make a great team. We want to inspire other women to follow their dreams and to show them that they too can overcome the challenges that come their way. Thank you for having me, and I hope our story will inspire others to take on new challenges and make a difference in the world.
Thank you so much, Hanan. I'll give the floor now to Rose, founder and executive director of the Legacy for African Women and Children initiative. South Sudan became the world's youngest nation in 2011. And we know that due to some of the conflict that has happened there, women experience numerous challenges. Rose, can you tell us more about how it all started for you and your personal experience in this setting as well?
Good afternoon, everyone, and I'm privileged to have joined this fruitful panel. With my experience, me being the victim of gender-based violence, I always see women. I witness women and girls struggling with life that is dominated by the negative cultures and norms, which has actually made it for women to face injustice, inequality in the society of the Republic of South Sudan. This is with the belief that girls and women do not have a reason or ability to go to school and learn. They are taken as the source of wealth in the society. And this has made it very low for women to have seen challenges that are facing them in whatever they do. Women continue experiencing sexual violence in both armed conflict and the communal conflict. And in human practices, murdering, torturing, and unlawful forced marriages, etc. This has been, going on years and years, and this is the time that women should really think about what they can do to create the voice in the society and help their other women who are the voiceless. And I'm one of them who decided to join the women in the Republic of South Sudan and beyond to fight for the rights of women and girls. Because I was once a victim of being denied access to the education. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Rose, and thank you for the inspiring work you're doing. I will say that we need more women like you. So some research that I had done in the northern region in Ghana in 2020 showed that out of a survey of 800 women, only 25 of them felt that gender-based violence was completely wrong. And so that means that the other 775 felt that in some way or form, it could be acceptable. So really, there's a lot of work to be done to change the mindsets even of women, not to talk of the men. So thank you for the work that you're doing, and we really appreciate it. I will now turn to Ms. Sadaf Tahib, founder and CEO of Jumana clothing business in Afghanistan. Afghanistan has been in a critical situation for some time now, with restrictions imposed on women's movement and participation in public and economic life. Sadaf, can you tell us what challenges you faced in starting your business? How did you overcome them? And what moved you? And I think, what advice do you have to other women in fragile and conflict-afflicted states who want to start a business as well? Thank you.
Good afternoon, everyone. I'm honored to be here today to share my story. After the Taliban took over Afghanistan, I was left in a complete shock in the several months. I lost my job, and my dreams, which I dedicated my life to, were destroyed in a blink of an eye. My future was blurred, and I, like many other women, were placed in a home arrest. I was furious, devastated, and hopeless. But after a while, I gathered myself, and I decided not to give up, not just for myself, but for the women around me, because we were left alone with the families to feed and take care of our mental health. In the state of dealing with the situation, I started focusing on finding solutions. As business was the only thing that the Taliban were showing some degree of flexibility for, I thought that business can be safe and the only long-term solution for the women to achieve economic independence. As such, I started mentoring women online, listening to their ideas, helping them to polish their concept, and guiding them to start their own businesses with the limited resources and the culture challenges they were facing. The results were astonishing, and I soon get convinced that the business could be the only avenue for Afghan women to survive in such a dire circumstance. I was inspired so much by all those women that I started my own clothing business. I should say that our journey was riddled with the challenges, which included lack of proper business development knowledge, difficulty in finding investor, legal and regulatory barriers for women to own businesses, security and banking issues, society and cultural norms, and the inability to hire females and show their faces online, and the travel restriction and mobility restriction. Despite all these difficulties that we had, with support from our families, we not only started our businesses, but we also managed to thrive. We couldn't go out to the public scene, but thanks to the new technologies, we started our businesses online. Afghan business women had adopted and started doing businesses from home. They have founded new customers and markets for Afghan products internationally through social media. And that's what I call an action towards sustainable financial independency of women in Afghanistan. For those women starting business in conflict-affected state, my advice would be to focus on finding solution to the challenges that they are facing, seek mentorship and guidance from those who have experience and learn from their success and failures. Also, it's crucial to stay resilient and persistent. Despite the obstacles, with the determination and hard work, you can achieve your goals. I want to thank you for allowing me to share my experience and insight with you. I believe that by empowering women entrepreneurs, we can help build a more peaceful and prosperous society and impact the well-being of future generations. Thank you.
Sadaf, thank you very much. And I think I would say thank you for your resilience, because it's important. And one thing I think we found about women is that women are resilient no matter the situation. I'll ask a quick question as a follow-up to something that you mentioned, that you're using technology and actually you are embarking on kind of using the digital era to help your business. And so both for Rose and Hanan, I want to find out how you've been able to use technology, how you've been able to use the internet to help you advance your business, because this is something that we're also very interested in at the WTO, digital trade. And it looks like that is what you're doing. So Sadaf, you can also touch on that, but Rose and Hanan, I want to hear a little bit about you on this, from you on this as well.
So should I go first?
Yes, you can go ahead.
Okay. So first I took an online course for the digital marketing, and we start like taking the pictures and teach the women how to like use the social media and their benefits to sell their products and find a larger market, which like help women a lot because that very short-term course of the digital marketing help them to like boost their businesses. Like with the Instagram mostly, we mostly add the pictures on Instagram, promoted in different areas that we think that that our potential customers are we promoted, and that's how it works.
Perfect, thank you. Rose or Hanan, would you like to intervene?
Okay, well, in Somalia, it's actually quite different. We are not really exposing ourselves on social media because of the situation and stability that we are in Somalia. Most of our customers that come and use our facilities are high-level people from the government or the international communities, which we won't want to expose, of course, or show them that they are around. For us, it's more what helps us to do our business is our communication. In Somalia, there is a lack of English-speaking communication, especially when it comes to businesses being clear and having a good relationship with different types of people. So for us, it's what helps our business more is our communication, following up, and making sure that they're getting the best kind of service that they deserve.
Thank you. And Rose?
Thank you once again. I think the context of my country is South Sudan, given the fact that we are the youngest nation, the level of the technology is a bit low. And the point of it is that education is not to the fullest, where we believe when there is full education and everybody is educated, we'll be always updating each other in advanced technology. So it is only currently that at least live coaches are coming up. I've seen at least there are women that are coming up to coach people as the coaches, so that people will be able to penetrate towards the technology through Instagram and other media platforms that will help encourage and promote the trade and industry. But it is at the lower level, which I believe with this technology, if women are actually put in the point and they will be trained and they will be told what to do, I'm sure 100% they would really pick it up and they will take it as something, a tool that will encourage and promote their business. Thank you very much for listening.
Thank you, Rose. I think for colleagues here at WTO and some of you who are listening online, I mean, it's clear that there really is still a lot of work to be done, one on empowering women, but also empowering them to use digital technology and to enter into that digital era, because we know, as Sadaf has said, that it has a large impact on businesses. And I think there's been some research that showed with coffee growers in Rwanda, that once they were able to access digital platforms, they sold 3 times more than what they were able to sell before. So there's a lot of work to be done on that. Moving on to this, from challenges, I want to talk about some of the opportunities. I think I'll start with you, Sadaf. How did acceding to the WTO help Afghan traders and entrepreneurs, and particularly women, in your opinion? And then I think, how has access to trade been helpful to you in particular? What else would you like to see done at the policy-making level to benefit women entrepreneurs? So Sadaf, that's for you.
Thank you. I have always considered Afghanistan accession to WTO as a significant step toward the country's economic development, but 5 years or less time to evaluate the overall impact of WTO's membership. But there are definitely some gains that comes as a result of Afghanistan accession to WTO, primarily for the private sector, including women-led businesses. In my opinion, membership has played a crucial role in boosting confidence of Afghan entrepreneurs and promoting business in different areas. Before joining the WTO, Afghanistan lacked legal contracts to conduct business with the other countries. However, with the establishment of a legal framework under the WTO, Afghan traders gained the necessary legal support to engage in international trade. As a result, many traders with the operational capacity start trading with the other countries, expanding their businesses and finding access to the new and the larger markets. The WTO membership has always had a positive impact on the quality of Afghan products. Traders who gain access to the new markets realize the importance of international standards and requirements. And this leads to a significant improvement in the quality of Afghan products. With a renewed focus on the supply and the value chain, Afghan traders work toward meeting international standards, ultimately bringing about important reforms to the country's business landscape. It's a good idea to right now, WTO, and though that Afghanistan have an accession to WTO, but right now WTO is disconnected with the Afghanistan, and they have stopped their activities because of the Taliban took over the country. But I think that was it really worth it to leave Afghan people in such a difficult moment? Because from WTO, basically the private sector and the women-led business were taking the benefits. But if they again want to start their connect with the Afghan traders, so I would like to suggest some policies. Regarding policy, I believe that WTO can engage directly with the Afghan people and play a crucial role in the promoting the economic empowerment of Afghan women entrepreneurs. Specifically, I propose new policies that address the unique challenges faced by the Afghan women. First, policies that promote gender equality in education and training can help women acquire the skill and the knowledge necessary to succeed as an entrepreneur. Second, policies that provide access to finance and other resources can help women overcome the barriers they face and accessing capital and expanding their businesses and finding new investors. Thirdly, tax reduction is vital, and I urge the WTO to request member countries to reduce tax for Afghan women-owned businesses. This will enable them to send their products to other countries and access larger markets. Finally, policies that prioritize women's participation in peace-building effort can help create a more sustainable environment for women entrepreneurs to operate in. I believe empowering women entrepreneurs can not only promote economic growth, but also contribute to sustainable peace and security in Afghanistan. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Sadaf, for these helpful comments. And I think here at the WTO, we will look at how we can work with Afghan women who are trading and Afghan entrepreneurs. So maybe we'll get back to you soon. Rose, let me turn to you. because I want to know, Sudan has not acceded to the WTO yet. You're still in the process. How will access to the WTO benefit South Sudan? How do you think engaging in international trade can help women take part in Sudan's economic cycle? And then are there any, on the broader scale, policies that you think would be helpful for women-led businesses?
Thank you very much once again, Nicole. I would like to fully encourage WTO to engage women when it comes to the world trade through the economic empowerment, microfinance, capacity building, to enable women be self-reliant, because this is the gap, the existing gaps that women in South Sudan are having currently. You find women are hard workers and they don't know where to start, or they can start, but they don't know where to end, simply because they lack capacity, and as well, they lack the tools. We have seen women that are very strong in agriculture and livelihood, which has really, made the society to change the narratives. Because we believe with food in the community, we will always have peace, but you can't build peace to somebody who is empty stomach. So I would really encourage Trade for Peace to provide the tools, training, and also empowering women fully to be able to participate in this. The other bigger things that would be vital for WTO to engage to South Sudanese women is that they have to have a wider women networking. When South Sudanese women network with other women around the globe, they will be able to share their experience and also learn from them how they do their business and how did they engage themselves into the peaceful coexistence. This will help the younger generation to also learn from the current women and also to take it beyond. When it comes to the policies, I would really say, first of all, it is good to have equality before we reach to the policies. What I know in my country is that women are neglected, and we have seen the thing of auctioning the dollars to the market. If you see whether women are being equalized with men, businessmen, you will only see either 5% or maybe 6% of women involved in that. You will only find they are all men that are actually being auctioned the dollars in the market, and they are the ones that, are believed to be the people that are international investors, and they are the ones that exports and imports the business. In actual sense, I would say if women are empowered, by involve them into any capacity, women can do better. And by seeing this, only men are being taken for such opportunities, we don't see the progress. We don't completely see the progress. So I would again urge the international community to really look into that critically, because the fragile women are suffering in and out, and should it continue like this, there will be no future for the coming generation. Women again lack, capitalization, and this is what I mentioned earlier on. If women are not given capital to start up their business, then what do we expect? We would expect them to lose and to get discouraged, and later, go to zero finances, and they will never be self-reliant, not unless if they are supported, capitalized, and also trained. If possible, they will be stabilized in their businesses. And they say, empower a woman, you are empowering a nation. I would as well encourage the Trade for Peace to give exchange visit. If at all, if the process of WTO happens to take place in South Sudan, it will be very, very important or vital to take women who are actually entrepreneurs. Women are actually doing anything that that other men does. Whatever they are lacking is only the empowerment. So if they are taken to the other countries, they will be able to see what other women are doing in the other part of the country. And this is where they will be very strong in giving in their voices and in also calling for the policies to be set in place. Because even as I see right now, there's women who are doing their local businesses, they are not protected. And however they are victimized, more especially they are disowned, they believe because they are dominated, the society is dominated by the cultures and norms, the negative one, that if a woman goes to the market, she's no longer a good woman, you know? So it will enable the woman now to have a powerful voice, and they will be able to call for the rights and also policies in place to protect them in whatever they are doing. Thank you very much for listening. I hope this is going to be something that all of us will benefit from it. Thank you very much.
Rose, thank you very much. And I think you mentioned that women often start businesses, but they don't know, what to do or how to end, is what you said. And I mean, we have research that shows that majority of the micro, small, and medium-sized enterprises are owned by women. But the issue comes as to how to expand these businesses into more medium and larger sized businesses. And I think at the WTO, our Trade and Gender Unit is working on this, because sometimes women lack knowledge about the skills to use or trade rules actually that could help them expand their businesses. So we've been working with our ITTC division here to put on courses for women to enable them to learn more about trade rules, how to expand, how to trade, what do you need to be able to trade. And hopefully we can work to see how we can get these programs more to women in fragile states, because I think that will really help. Secondly, you mentioned the issue of financing. And on financing, I myself, I'm an entrepreneur. I have a small shea butter business that I work with in Ghana. And financing is one of the major issues that women face. And so when starting a business. And so this is something that we're also working on here at the WTO to see how we can help finance women entrepreneurs to help them access global value chains a little bit more. So we will update you, but just rest assured that we're working on some of these issues here. I think Hanan, you will be our last speaker on this topic. You've heard from Rose, and I want to know what's your opinion on the matter. How will joining the WTO and taking part in the multilateral trading system help to empower women and to strengthen them in Somalia? And then also, do you have any recommendations of good practices or suggestions that could help women doing business?
Thank you very much. First, I would like to quickly highlight the challenges we Somali women face doing business, which I did not in the beginning part, my apologies. The challenges doing business in Somalia is that there is no insurance. There is a lack of peace and instability. It's a risk doing business in Somalia. It comes with a fear due to a lack of security. Women, however, face additional challenges culturally, economically, politically, and socially. In a country that is men-dominated, it is still a challenge to break through as a female. Another challenge women face is lack of financial inclusion. For many decades now, it's been a challenge for women to access funds to start a business in Somalia. The main factor still being gender inequality. Many women in Somalia operate small businesses in the open places along the streets because they cannot afford to pay the high rents. This is why women are more at risk and exposed to danger when doing business in Somalia. So coming to how will joining the WTO and taking part in the multilateral trade system serve the purpose of strengthening women's economic empowerment in your country? Well, as a woman living and doing business in Somalia, a fragile and conflicted state that is facing many gender equality challenges, I find this a very interesting topic. Therefore, it's my pleasure to discuss with you how joining the World Trade Organization, WTO, and participating in multilateral trade systems can strengthen women's economic empowerment in Somalia. Women's participation in the labor market is essential for economic growth and development. It leads to greater productivity, innovation, and diversification. Trade is vital in supporting women's empowerment and advancing gender equality. The WTO has recognized the importance of women's economic empowerment and has taken action to promote it through the Buenos Aires Declaration on Trade and Women's Economic Empowerment. This declaration aims to make trade and development policies more gender responsive by sharing best practices for gender-based trade policy analysis and monitoring their effects. It also seeks to work together to remove barriers to women's economic empowerment and increase their participation in trade. And I believe this is exactly what Somalia needs at the moment. One of the good practices that can help women do business is supporting their financial inclusion. The WTO held a financial inclusion seminar in 2019 as part of its efforts to support the implementation of the Buenos Aires Declaration. The seminar aimed to help policymakers, financial service providers, and other stakeholders to understand the importance of financial inclusion for women and how to improve access to financial services. In addition to financial inclusion, the Trade and Gender 360 strategy is a capacity building program for government officials and women entrepreneurs. It aims to promote gender equality in trade policy and increase women's participation in international trade. This program helps women entrepreneurs access markets, finance, and other resources to grow their businesses. Joining the WTO and participating in multilateral trade systems can provide many opportunities for strengthening women's economic empowerment in Somalia. By working together and implementing good practices and suggestions, we can help women do business and contribute to a more prosperous future for all. In conclusion, let us take advantage of the opportunities the WTO and multilateral trade systems offer to promote women's economic empowerment and gender equality. Let us work towards creating a world where women have equal access to economic opportunities and their economic contribution is recognized and valued. Thank you.
Hanan, thank you so much. And thank you for highlighting some of the programs that the WTO has put on, and hopefully we'll continue to do that as well. I hear you on the exercise on financial inclusion, similar to what Rose said, and so we will work on this. I think this has been an extremely enriching conversation. It was such a pleasure to listen to you all speak, and I think we all have a better idea of really what it means to be a woman in trade and to be a woman entrepreneur in a fragile and conflict-afflicted state. I will now turn to the floor for questions, both online and on the floor. So I think the online questions are being sent in. I'll read them out. But for now, if you have any and you just raise your hand, I will point you out. I'll start with 2 online questions and then I will get back to the floor. I think one, Anna Kelly says, congratulations to all of you being active in this field, and she wishes you success in trade. Her question to Rose, what is the general debt level of the women-driven enterprises and companies in South Sudan? I think asking how much debt are these women in South Sudan facing? Rose, I'm not sure if you can answer that, but I turn it over to you.
Thank you very much. And I would really say, as I said earlier on, that women in South Sudan are actually facing too much challenge when it comes to the trade and other things, simply because there are no laws and policies in place that, give that version of having women in all the sectors, be it the business sector, that is the private sector, or the other sectors. So it is very, very, very critical as we are in this early stage. And this is where we always, give a call for them to be supported and be involved into all other activities that women are supposed to do. So I would really say they are in a critical situation, and it will be very important if all of us look at it and we see how to assist in that.
Thank you, Rose. I think we had a question from Majdi online, but she was asking more about WTO support. So Majdi, you're right, WTO support to women is not on an individual basis. So as I said, we have some of these programs that our Trade and Gender Unit is doing, courses on involving more women in trade, on teaching the rules of trade. We're working on more ways to collectively help women in trade. So that will be based on our members as well. But we're working to do this, to get more women into trade, but it will not be on an individual basis, but on a collective basis. Any questions from the floor? We have to have at least one. And I know people in the room, so I can call on you. Please go ahead.
Thank you very much. I would like to ask all the panelists one question. Coming from your experience, what advice would you give for a woman who thinks about starting a business, but does not know where to start? Thank you.
Thank you. So maybe Sadaf, we can start with you.
So whenever women want to start a business, first, if we look at the whole concept of the businesses right now, like especially in Afghanistan, like everything is on women skill-based businesses. Like first, as the women handmade things, the carpets, and all other things. So first, they should see that what is the capacity and what they can actually do, which is like worth doing. And when they saw like their capacity that I'm good at this specific thing, so they can start from that. But if not, they can go to the society. What is need to be done? They have to find that one. Like when they found like what they want to do as a like business, first they should sit and make a chart. Like mostly I recommend my sisters, like my other girls, to go to YouTube and find a business chart, like how to like develop a business first. Find your audience, and like a proper training, like how they should start the first step to how they should like go to the action stage. That's how like I want them to do it. Like first know yourself, and then if you your skills, and if you can don't have any skills to provide, then you can find the things which are needed in the society, which should be imported or other stuff, and they can start their business from there.
Thank you, Sadaf. So both Rose and Hanan, if you can also weigh in on this, what advice would you give to women who want to start a business? Rose, please go ahead.
Okay. Thank you very much. To me, I would encourage a woman who want to start a business by learning from each other, because I know in the world, women are affected. This one we cannot deny. And it is only the dreams and the situation that can force you as a mother to do what other people or what other counterparts are doing. And I would really give a success story in South Sudan context, when I believe during the war, our mothers used to brew the local alcohol that was sold, and they used that money to pay for their children. This one worked very well, and most of the children right now, they are graduates of their mothers who were doing the local brewing of the alcohol. What if we take up from there, because our mothers are now getting older, but we have come even with a good technology that can even make you to connect with other person who is who has gone through a proper startup from anywhere in the globe. So I would encourage my fellow women to start, even if you start from scratch. I know always you will go through, because if other person or if other sister of yours have done it, why not you? You should not, put yourself down and say, I'm not going to make it or something of that kind. You start discouraging yourself and you start seeing how situation is. Just start and the rest will be history. This is what I can give.
Thank you, Rose. And I think I'll just piggyback off your answer, because as I said, I'm also a woman business owner. And so I agree. And I would say that just go for it. Do as much research as you can if you have an idea. But also know that you're never going to know enough. The business is really, you learn as you go. So if you have an idea, you've done the research that you can, go for it. And then you learn as you go. And, hopefully at WTO, we can also help. Hanan, over to you. Hanan, sorry, I think you're muted. So if you can unmute yourself and start again, please. Thank you. Thank you.
Okay, so I agree with all of you guys. The most important part of doing business is to start. And when it comes to business, we all start because we have a great passion for something. But what I realized is eventually it is the needs from other people that will make you adjust your business. So after a while, you see yourself start doing or selling things that you were never planning on doing in the first place, but you started doing it because that's what your community needs. So yes, just start and keep adding changes to your business, because changes that are added to your business is what keeps your business going. That's it for me.
Thank you, Hanan. Any more questions from the floor? Please go ahead, Tiago.
Thank you, Nicole. My name is Tiago from the Mission of Portugal. I think it was Rose that mentioned the question of currency exchange and how it is male dominated in her country. And I suppose that it is that currency exchange is the majority of it is informal in nature. And I think there is a degree here, a correlation between informality and lack of opportunity for women. And I was noting the concept note for this event that mentions that although most national trade policies are not de jure discriminatory, they have a different impact on women and men because of the similar initial conditions in many countries. And those initial conditions are much related to the informality of the economies in those countries. So I would put the challenge to the panelists to comment how does informality represent a problem, a challenge for women, and how, if there have been steps in bringing the economies in their countries to a higher degree of formality in the fiscal sense and in every sense, and if that has opened up opportunities for women, taking in account that male domination is more likely in informal settings, and opportunities for women is more likely in formal settings. So that would be my challenge to the panelists. Thank you.
Okay, so panelists, if you could comment on how informality represents a challenge for women, and how can formality help? I will talk about it even from the Ghanaian sector, because actually you find that a lot of women in Ghana are involved in the informal sector, right? So they are all working, they all have businesses, but it's informal. And a challenge that this has, both at the government level and policy level, is that sometimes you have programs that are not able to address those that they should specifically be addressing. So if you have a program where you're looking to sponsor women, and most of them are outside in the informal sector, but you're looking for registered female businesses, then you're going to find that there are less women that you're able to work with and less women that you're able to sponsor. So it is a challenge, and I think something policymakers have to work on, how to bring in more women into the formal sector. But I'll also pass it on to the panelists now to discuss. Thank you. And maybe Sadaf, you want to go first?
So I believe most of women are informal because, like, especially in Afghanistan, that I know, Taliban don't allow women to own businesses alone. When they want to have a license, they should have a male member as well. So if you do not have a male member, you cannot have your license, business license. So when I started to take a license for myself, I had to add a male member. So I wanted to be the owner of the company because I was, but I was not allowed to. I'm still struggling with this, but I haven't convinced them yet. But no, they are telling me to be like the deputy, and my father be the owner of the company. And I'm like, my father doesn't have any contribution to this business. Like, why am I adding him? Though he is supporting me, I know, like, he invests in my business, but I have paid it back. But it doesn't have any logic, to add him in my business owner, to take a license and make him owner. So it is a big challenge for women that they are struggling. In Afghanistan, especially, they don't like women actually, in any concept. Taliban, they don't want them to go to school, they don't want to have education, they don't want to do business. They are a bit flexible, as I said before, but in general, they don't want women to take the lead in anything. So even if it's a business of their own, they don't want them to have that ownership. This is a big challenge that women are going informal. It's really unacceptable.
Sadaf, thank you so much for sharing. And I mean, it's interesting because we had a panel here a few weeks ago where some of the women spoke about how when they had started their careers, but maybe this was about 30 years ago, a woman still needed to go with a man to get a bank loan or to open a bank account to be able to buy a house. But it's amazing that even now in 2023, women are still experiencing this and need to register their business with a man. So hopefully things will get better as the discussion continues, and I hope we can all kind of contribute to make this better for women. Hanan, or I see Rose is ready, so Rose, please go ahead.
Thank you so much. To me, the context again in South Sudan is, a bit delicate, but I would actually supplement on Hanan. In my country, I think ignorance and assumption from our male counterparts have really made it so worse for women to own business or to start up businesses. Be that men believe they are the ones that are very strong, they are the ones that are educated, they are the ones that, they are the superior people in the society. So it has, confined a woman into, a small scale. When it comes to business shares or to come together as a husband and a wife, it is always very hard. And also we have to look in the situation where our communities are the polygamy setup, for you to be able to share the business with the husband, you sometimes need to know that also other women will be part of this business. And maybe you are the one, as a woman, your money or your share is much than for a man. So this has hindering, it has become a quite challenging into, you know, coming together and share business with the husband and or a counterpart, later on it will bring issues. And I think we got to stuck. We are stuck, and that's why getting women to be independent is not actually allowed. And this is where I will actually supplement where Anand said their men are not, you know, allowing women fully to do their business, you know, because they see they have no powers. They see there's nothing that can really give them that ability to do the trade and the business. So I think there is something need to be done in terms of, you know, coming together and do the business. And wherever we are supposed to learn from one another, a woman is supposed to learn from a businessman is supposed to learn from business women. Because what I know, we are together, we were created together under one image of God, and our ability is all the same. But assuming that a woman cannot do, that is a serious assumption that need to be, you know, the narratives need to be corrected and changed, and the perception need to be really, you know, worked upon for it to come to normality. Otherwise, it will still distract us back behind.
Thank you, Rose. And Hanan, if you have a comment on how informality continues to represent a challenge for women, that would be great.
Coming back to Rose on that topic, you're absolutely right. You know, doing business in Somalia is not easy, and most of the time when they start doing business as women, they do partner up with men. Why? Because they lack that confidence, or they feel that when you have a man by your side, that your business will be stronger and that people will not be able to confront you. Because it's also that fear of confrontation, which is, it's not really our culture to have confrontations with men. So having a partner as a man, us females feel some kind of protection and that they can handle that side of the business. But as time goes along and women become stronger, they do realize that that they can survive on their own and that they don't need to have a man by their side. Because at the end of the day, we women, we are smart, we are strong, and we are able to do it on our own. It's just that little bump that we all probably have to get over to start. And coming to the formality, the good thing about Somalia is that anyone could really start a business. It doesn't matter if you're man or female. You can go and register your company and start off. I think the challenges we face are more on the culturally and socially and political side of that's where we face more challenges, I think. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there, I think we have time for one more question. So if there's one more in the room, please let me know. Perfect. So I'll do two from online. Suraya is asking how men's support can have a positive impact on businesses run by women. You know, so how can men support and how does their support have a positive impact? That's one. And then the second question. Okay. Suksana is asking, is there any woman leader that you look up to, especially those working in fragile and conflict-affected situations? Who has inspired you and why? So I think that would be a good one to end on. So please, if you can answer both questions. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. I will answer on the question, how can men support women? It is very clear that a woman is part of a man, naturally and how God created these both people. The only challenge that comes in is when our counterparts or men allows themselves to be dominated by the cultures that's no longer existing and the negative cultures that affect women the most. So it will be very important for our men to empower a woman right from the beginning. You know, instead of dictating, you dictate you're a woman, you don't give them, you know, that kind of powers or, you know, to support them fully. You know, I am actually bringing this because what I have observed when working with women who are doing the business, I have seen that women who are in the business are not even protected the most. I said earlier on, they are disowned, they are stigmatized, you know. They believe that a woman who is in the business is no longer a right woman, that she's going to spoil other women. I don't really see how a man who is a businessman don't spoil other man if that is the case. So we need to change the narrative. We need to change the perception on how we think about women, and we begin to see how we need to develop how to support a woman. Because honestly, wherever you are, without the support of a woman, I don't think a home is home. And a woman is everything. Even if a woman did not go to school as a doctor, you find is a woman that is, you know, reading the prescription of a drug to be given to a child. Is the same woman who supports a child who is from school with their homework, even if she has not gone to school as a teacher. The same thing in the economic sector. You will support or you empower your woman. You will even enjoy more. Because what I know, even the usage of the resources, the money, the spending, men spend more than women. And if a woman spend more, she spend the money in your children, in your home, because we don't have any other pots. We don't go and cook. We don't go and eat in the restaurant, etc. You would find only a woman is only doing the basic needs in your family, in your children, in yourself and herself. So it will be very, very important to change the narratives, and we work together to support women and empower them. And you would really enjoy the fruit of it, the fruit of empowering a woman.
Thank you, Rose. Sadaf, would you comment on this as well?
So when I started my business, my father was the first one who encouraged me to actually do it. He told me that I have the ability and I can do it, so I should start it. This was the first thing that I started believing in myself. Men can always play a positive role, though women I have the full capacity to do things on their own, but sometimes it's good to have encouragement as well. So maybe at the first, when I was doing my job and I was doing other stuff in my life, I never asked for help, and the others people's thinking about me never actually mattered. But when I put it in a box inside a home and the society was all man dominated, suddenly I was not able to go out, and all the time I had to have a male member with me because of the restrictions that was imposing. So these things have a little bit affected my mind, and I was feeling weak. But when my father started encouraging me, this actually helped me a lot, because when you put it in a conflict situation, that's the time that you sometimes appreciate the support from your male member of your family, to that they just stand by your side and to help them, to encourage you. and to give you positive energy. It's not about just male members. The positive energy is good to have from anyone when you are starting a business. So basically, it's good to have male members' encouragement, just encouragement, and sometimes a bit of help, because when we are doing this online business and we cannot go out, so there should be a man outside to like deliver it, those products for others, especially in Afghanistan. Like before Taliban, we talk before Taliban, I was starting my business before Taliban, I wouldn't even need any man because I know that I was able to do anything. But right now it's in a special situation in Afghanistan that Taliban doesn't allow women. So that's why we need man support in this situation. And I want men to help women in Afghanistan, their sister who have and their wives who have the capacity and they can do businesses, they should help them. And about the inspiration, like Afghan women have always been, all of them, in businesses, in politics, in anything, they have always been inspiration to me. Like we have faced these so many things, like inequality, violence, and restrictions, but they are still coming to the street, protesting and demanding for their rights. Each and individual of them are inspiration. They are giving you hope not to give up in life and to continue working and not just to sit and watch what's happening and what other men and other factors are pushing you down. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Sadaf. And I think from both what you and Rose have said, really men shouldn't be silent when it comes to issues of women's economic participation, women's equality, helping to advance the agenda. Men should not be silent. Hanan, can you please weigh in on this as well?
Sure, how men can support women is, I believe, financially, by funding their business is one of and promote them basically that the others, Rose and Silap already touched on. And any woman leader, for me, it's mainly my mother that's been doing business for over 20 years, starting in Toronto and now in Somalia, showing that anything is really possible if you put your mind, if you set your mind to it. So I'm trying to follow in her footsteps and hopefully inspire the next generation of women to also come back to their motherland to help rebuild the country.
Thank you so much, Hanan. And I'm sure you are currently inspiring not just the next generation, but also your cohorts. So ladies and gentlemen, I think thank you so much. Can we give our panelists a round of applause? Thank you. We've come to the conclusion of our panel discussion, A Trade for Peace Perspective on Women's Empowerment in Fragile and Conflict-Afflicted States. And I want to thank you all for your engagement. Thank you to the panelists for this inspiring discussion. There is still so much work that we have to do. Really, that's what I've learned. And despite the fact that, you know, women all over the world are facing challenges when it comes to running businesses, we can see that in fragile and conflict-afflicted states, it's even worse. And so there's a lot of work. I'm thankful for the Trade for Peace program that we have here at the WTO and the work that we're doing on this. And I hope collectively we'll be able to find some solutions to help. Thank you all for coming, and we'll see you soon.